Welcome to the farm.
Welcome to the farm. I'm Justin, and today is a really exciting day. It's new tool day. We ended up picking up a cement mixer from Harbor Freight. It ended up being on sale. It was like $80 off, so I picked her up. Now, it's the middle of January in Wisconsin, so I won't be using this anytime soon, but I have a really big project with the shop here coming up, which I'm hoping to start this next summer if finances allow. If not, it may be another year yet, but I wanted to pick this up, get it put together, and get it tested out, make sure everything's working, because it is from Harbor Freight, and you never know what you're going to get. So let's open this thing up, dig into it, get it put together. So overall, taking everything out, everything looks pretty good. The first piece I took out though, cut my finger on a bad piece of weld. So, it does have that kind of quality defect. Also, this shield piece here has a little bit of rust and some paint flaking off there, a little bit of rust and paint flaking off here, and then a big piece of paint flaking right off the front face here. I mean, it's not even attached. But you get what you pay for. I mean, with my $80 off, this thing was under $200, and it's hard to even find used cement mixers for under 200 bucks. So let's go ahead, grab the directions, and see if we can't figure out how to put this together. So just like any central machinery tool from Harbor Freight, the directions are a little bit to be lacking. It's literally 3 pages to put all the parts together. They did label all the bags of hardware for each step. So we got bags 2 through 12. Why there's not a number 1, I do not know, but going through the directions, I don't see used bag number 1 anywhere, so hopefully we're not missing a bag. So the first step is to attach the stand to the wheel bracket. The stand looks like it's interchangeable with the holes. However, I noticed that it's got the lever lock warning on this side, so I think this side goes on the stand side. This side would be the wheel side. All right, so there should be 3 bolts to hold this together. One coming through this way, and 2 this way. Now using part bag number 12, we're going to put the stand on with 2 bolts. Okay. All right, so I just learned something. Bag number 12 is for the bolts that go through the leg this way, and then bag number 2 are for the bolts that go through the leg this way. So I'll have to take this middle bolt back out and use it over here. Now we can go ahead and put the wheels on, and using some parts from bag 13, big washers and cotter pins, slide one washer over, slide our wheel on, another washer, and our cotter pin. Now we got our stand together, we can go ahead and put the bottom part of our drum on. Now it said with assistance, but I think I can take care of this myself. Beautiful. Now when we're putting this on, we want to make sure that the small spindle is towards the wheels and the big spindle is towards the handle. We'll grab our 2 bolts from bag number 3 and bolt it in. So the next step they want us to take care of is to bolt these blades in the lower drum here. And to me, it's very confusing on how it's supposed to go. So what I did is I just laid the directions right on top of the drum. And I'm going to try to mimic the orientation as best as possible. But I'm also going to put the bolts through and I'm going to leave it loose so I can adjust these. Then I'll just tighten them from the inside later. So the next step is to get our gasket mounted to our upper part of our drum. And the directions say to use some gasket sealer. I don't have any gasket sealer, but I do have some RVT gasket maker. So I'm just going to spread a little bit of that on. And all that's supposed to do is keep the gasket in place while you set this. Then go ahead and set down our gasket, making sure we line up our holes. A lot of these aren't even punched out all the way. So I really tried to get that gasket to stick on that upper half. I can't get it to stick. I don't know if it's because I'm doing it when it's really, really cold, but it won't stay. So I think my next attempt is to take some tape, and I'm going to tape the screws on the bottom half of my drum here. Get them in place. Get my gasket over that. Hopefully the screws will help hold it in place, and then I can set the upper drum on top of that and put the nuts on. Well, taping that on was the way to go. That went a lot easier. I was able to just set the gasket on, and once I got the screws pushed through the gasket itself held the screws in place. So then I was able to put the top on, and then just kind of wiggle the screws to line up the holes and push them through. Worked great. Highly recommend you do that. Alright, well, let's move on to the next step. So now we can install our lock plate onto the mixer itself, putting the raised portion up towards the back. Next, we're going to work on attaching our handle for the twist and the dump. So I'm going to take this solid washer, stick that in the hole of the handle, put in our spring, put that over the arm, and we got our bolt through. We're going to put 2 nuts on. One will be just to keep it snug. The other will be to jam it tight. Now I can put the second nut up against the first nut, tighten that down. And that'll keep that other nut from backing out. So while I'm here, I'm going to adjust the handle. It needs the proper amount of tension so that this handle doesn't pop out while it's mixing and dump the tub over. And all we have to do for that is tighten that screw down, which will push on that washer, which will put more tension on the spring and make the handle tighter. Now we can see if we installed our blades the right way. I don't think we did, because they are not lining up with the hole. So I made a mistake when putting my upper drum on, and I thought about this before I set it, but when I set, I forgot. I didn't think about lining up the hole in the upper part for the actual mixer in here, and I think after some playing around that I'm 1 hole off. It's really, the directions are horrible when it comes to this. I'm really not sure how these are supposed to go in here, but I can tell you right now, these bolt holes don't line up with anything close to this. At least if I come here and here, I'm pretty close. So I think that's how it's supposed to go, but I'm not 100% sure. But anyway, to fix my mistake, I'm going to pull this bolt out, move it over 1 hole, do the same thing here, move that over 1 hole, and I'm going to bolt my mixing blades in these 2 holes. So this is definitely one of those times where the instructions could have been a lot better. This was a pain, and to me it was confusing. Maybe not to you guys it wasn't, but to me it was. But the simple fix to move those bolts over, got those bolted in. I think they're good to go now, so let's move on to the next step. Now we can go ahead and mount the back shield for the motor compartment. And again, we got just a lot more paint flaking off. The paint job on this thing is just horrible. But I guess I can't complain too much. Again, under 200 bucks, you're gonna get what you pay for. But to mount this should be just 2 bolts, 2 washers, and 2 nuts. Now we can install the motor mounting plate, and it's just gonna be 2 bolts through the slot here. And there's this little plate that goes on the back that'll sandwich with the upright. I'm going to leave this plate loose because we're going to have to mount our motor on here, and that's going to be our adjustment on our belt, so it's going to have to be moved again anyway. Up next, we can work on putting on our pulley. We've got to remove this screw and washer. Spray a little lubricant down there. Now I said not to use a hammer to install the pulley. The pulley is in. As far as it'll go. I'm gonna just use a hammer just to tap my key in. I can reinstall the screw, washer, and tighten it down. All right, we're getting closer. Time to put the motor on. Should be just 4 bolts and 4 washers and nuts. So I'm just leaving this bolted in loosely. I can slide it around. I still have to get the belt on and adjust the in and out play to get the belt to track properly on the pulley. So we're leaving this for now. So up next is our belt. I'm going to put it around the motor first. Then I can lift the whole motor assembly up and get it around the bigger pulley. Tighten up the bolts holding the motor bracket. That's another big design flaw in this thing. The bolts that you need to loosen to tighten the belt are up behind the motor. Belt's in the way, pulley's in the way, motor's in the way. You can't even hardly get a wrench on there to loosen it, put pressure down on this, and tighten it back up. Not a fan so far, but everything's tight in place. I think I'm tracking as straight as I need to. I think we can go move on to the next step. So here's the inside of the front cover now, and it's really got the same problem. It's just, I don't think the paint's stuck at all. So yeah, not awesome. We can go ahead and open up our electrical box here, wire in our motor. So we'll start by putting our little cord connector on. Should just push right into each other. So once you get your connector kind of in place, it should slide through the little hole in the box here. I'm not going to be able to do a really good job of showing you just because I don't have enough hands. Alright, so I got that snapped in. So I just should be able to hook up my wires to the exact same colors. Black to black. White to white. And I just got to get my ground connected down there on the bottom. So the ground stud in this thing here, I don't know how well you guys can see it, but it's not attached. So as soon as I broke that nut loose to put the other wire on it, the whole screw's loose and just spinning. So now I'm going to have to open up the other side of the box. Alright, so I got the wiring all done. Another real pain in the butt. I am not liking this thing at all. The assembly is just horrible. So I'm going to go ahead, put this cover on, and I think all we got left to do is put this cover on and test it out. Well, it's together. That was a pain. I thought this was going to take maybe an hour to 2 hours to put together, and I'm over 4 hours into this now and I finally have it done. I really thought this was going to go a lot better. I've put together a few central machinery stuff from Harbor Freight. I got a parts washer, a drill press, a bandsaw. All 3 of those went a lot smoother than this did. And I'm honestly really disappointed with the quality of this, the paint chipping and just the overall assembly of it. Like, these wheels are really kind of wobbly. If this thing works well, I'm definitely going to have to modify those wheels and make it a lot more sturdy to roll around the rough terrain and stuff around the farm. But time will tell how this holds up. Let's grab an extension cord, get this plugged in, fire up that motor, and just see how it runs. Here we go. seems to be working all right. Well, it sounds like it runs pretty well. It's fairly quiet. In fact, it's one of the quietest ones that I've heard run. Granted, I don't have any cement or anything in here, so I don't have that noise going with it. But the motor's pretty quiet, bearings are fairly quiet, so that's good at least. So hopefully this will hold up to what I need it to do. I don't do a lot of cement mixing, but like I said, I got a barn project here where I'm gonna have to pour some concrete for some posts and stuff. And I'm hoping this really comes in handy. Hopefully you guys found this video entertaining. Hopefully you guys learned something and don't make the same mistakes I did when putting this together. And I just want to say thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye.